Lucas was 32 years old and worked as an electrical maintenance technician. He spent nights in towers in abandoned buildings, dealing with old radios, deteriorated cables, and control panels no one else wanted to touch. He was rational, skeptical, and believed every problem had a technical explanation. He never got involved with urban legends or supernatural stories. He lived alone in a simple house, always a bit too organized for someone who was rarely there. His mother hardly ever talked about the family, especially when it came to the grandparents Lucas never met. There was a silent emptiness in his past, but he never questioned it. That changed on the night he climbed Tower 12B. It was almost midnight when his supervisor called, tense, saying the tower was transmitting signals on its own, even though it had been deactivated. Nobody wanted to climb up there. Lucas thought it was an exaggeration, but the moment he hung up, a strange discomfort ran through his body, a warning he couldn't rationally explain. Even so, he grabbed his things and drove down the empty road, trying to ignore the growing weight in the air. The tower looked taller at night, too silent, too abandoned. Lucas climbed the steps slowly, each one echoing with disturbing clarity. When he entered the control room, everything was as he remembered. Dust, old cables everywhere, a tube monitor, and a metal panel from the 1980s. He turned on the generator. The lights flickered and stabilized. And then, the noise began. It wasn't just static. It was something more organized, something that sounded dangerously like breathing. Lucas adjusted the dial. When it reached 4.7, the static matched the rhythm of his breathing exactly. He inhaled, the static inhaled. He held his breath, the sound held too. It wasn't normal. He turned it off. Absolute silence. He turned it back on. The breathing returned immediately, as if it had been waiting. While trying to understand the panel, he bumped into something that fell to the floor. An old frame. He picked it up. It was a black and white photograph, a woman holding a baby, both with unreadable expressions. In the corner, a faded number, 1965. Lucas assumed it belonged to some old employee and put it back without concern. When he returned to the panel, the monitor was typing a word by itself, letter by letter. Anyone. Lucas shut the machine off forcefully. Even so, the word took a moment to fade, as if something else was feeding the monitor. He changed the frequency, 4.8, 4.9. The hiss disappeared, and a short, fragile female voice slipped through the frequency for half a second. Listen to me. The tone was distant, but strangely familiar, as if coming from some forgotten corner of Lucas's memory. He tried to record the signals on the auxiliary system, but found a folder he had never seen before, Forbidden Transmission. Inside it, 4 files, beginning, road, grave, house. He opened the first, static, and at the end, a message. All of you heard it. He opened the second. He followed you too. The third, no one leaves. The fourth, it's still in there. Lucas felt a deep shiver. He didn't know who the other people were, but those messages felt like fragments of real events, somehow connected. Back home, he turned on the TV to calm down. The first news report talked about a man found disoriented at the entrance of a cemetery, claiming he heard knocking coming from inside a grave. The second talked about a driver who ran down Road 316, claiming the road changed shape while he drove. Lucas switched channels. The next headline simply read, "Woman reports that house behaves as if it were alive." He turned off the TV, uneasy. He grabbed his phone and called a police officer friend, trying to hide the nervousness in his voice. He vaguely mentioned that he had witnessed strange transmissions. His friend laughed, but then turned serious. "Man, today a woman showed up at the station saying her house was trying to confuse her. I thought she was delusional. Now you come with this transmission thing. I don't know." No names were mentioned, no explanations, just coincidences that shouldn't exist. Lucas walked outside to get some air. His friend's words kept echoing in his mind, the story about the woman saying her house was trying to confuse her. He'd laughed awkwardly at the time, but deep down it unsettled him. The officer wasn't the type to believe strange stories easily, and even he seemed bothered by it. Lucas stood on the porch for a few minutes, taking deep breaths, trying to convince himself none of it had anything to do with the tower. Coincidence, he muttered. When he stepped back inside, he noticed something different.
One of the floorboards was slightly lifted, as if it had recently been moved. He crouched down and carefully pulled it up. Underneath, there was an old, dusty box with a faded label, Family Documents, Store. Lucas frowned. Why was that hidden? And why had his mother never mentioned old documents? He nudged the box with his foot, distracted, and the lid opened on its own. Inside, a yellowed sheet was partially exposed. At the top, an incomplete signature began to appear, H-E-L. Lucas stared for a few seconds. He didn't know why, but that incomplete word gave him a chill. A name, or the beginning of one, something his mind seemed to recognize without understanding. He pushed the feeling away, closed the lid without looking further. "I'll show this to my mom later," he whispered, still intrigued. He set the box aside, trying to ignore the uncomfortable thought, but couldn't resist glancing at it again. It felt as if the house had shown him that on purpose, as if it was trying to remind him of something he wasn't ready to understand. That night, he woke up to a sound that shouldn't exist, the same static from the tower, the same breathing synchronized with his own. But it wasn't coming from any device. It was coming from inside the room, or from inside his head, or from both places at once. He pressed his hands against his ears, desperate, but the sound continued. The rhythm followed his breathing exactly. He held his breath, the sound held too. Panic tightened his chest. Lucas stumbled to the door, opened it, and stepped outside, trying to breathe in cold air. The street was completely empty, silent, dark. And then he saw it. Far away on the horizon, Tower 12B, real, physical, imposing, lit by a faint flickering light at the top. And the detail that froze him, the tower was on, even after he had shut everything down with his own hands. A red light blinked at the top, as if marking a pulse, a code, a warning. Lucas squinted, trying to see better. The light blinked 5 times in a row, then repeated, forming numbers, 0, 5. Another pulse, stronger, and for a brief instant, it formed letters. He could barely believe it. L-U-C-A-S.
Continues. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. If this story kept you engaged in any way, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Turn on the notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can, leave a like. It helps the channel grow and motivates me to bring more stories for you. Let me know in the comments what you thought and what you'd like to hear next. See you in the next one.